I want to talk about the new Resident Evil movie reboot. So we have moved past the Mila Jovovich films now because some studios wanted to cash in on the success of the recent remake video games. And in a few days from me recording this video, we're going to have another Resident Evil reboot that comes out in the form of a Netflix TV show, which will most likely also suck ass. But let's talk about this film because it is so shit. But I did have fun making fun of it. So I'm a fan of Resident Evil. I think it's an awesome franchise. And I even like all the convoluted bullshit that goes on in the story. I've watched those 2.5 hour videos on YouTube exploring the lore of those games. It's so batshit and the way they tell the story is so disjointed, but also it's kind of cool. And being a fan of the games, there were just so many things in this that just frustrated me. Like the lab. It's too small. That's what she said. Haha. So if you don't know, in every Resident Evil, there's always a part in the game where you end up in a facility. It's just in a checklist of things that you just need to have in a Resident Evil game. But in the movie, the facility is just some science lab, and not even a cool looking science lab. Like, it's a lame looking science lab. It looks like the cheapest one they could have just put together in this. And they also have a liquor in this film. I can't decide if this looks worse than the Paul W.S. Anderson one, so congrats, I guess. They also have the dogs in there from the OG Resident Evil, which definitely looks worse than the Paul W.S. Anderson one. How is it that a movie from 2002 has way better looking special effects than a film from 2021? Like, it's almost been 20 years and we've gone backwards. And to that original film's credit, some of the effects in that were practical, so I have to give props to that. Though I'm not saying that the 2002 movie's like any good though. I watched that and that is also pretty shit. The only scene that I liked in that film was the laser scene. That's like the high point of that film. And that was also used in Resident Evil 4, which was just kind of interesting. Now, all these Resident Evil movies rely on fan service instead of making a good movie. And this newest one, or at least it is the newest one before the Netflix reboot comes out, this newest one uses a lot of imagery from Resident Evil 1 and 2. For example, we have the police headquarters from RE2. We also have Lisa showing up in this from RE1, or the remake of RE1. And the biggest problem with this is that it should have just focused on Leon and Claire, instead of also shoving in Wesker, Jill, and Chris. So you have two simultaneous stories going on at once, because they're trying to capture both RE1 and RE2 in one movie. The thing is, you only needed one. Only one would have been enough. And whenever they remake a scene from the games, like, for example, do you remember the part in RE2 where Leon meets some guy in a jail cell and Mr. X comes through the wall? It's like one of the best parts of that game. But in the movie, they don't have Mr. X in there, so instead, we have a zombie that's in a cell with the same guy, and it's slowly walking towards him in the shadows. But this guy, he's stolen Leon's gun, and he's pointing it at Leon, and then he dies, and just the execution of this scene is so dumb. Leon is also shit. And just to clarify, I have no problem with the actor. I know that people have forced this guy to disappear from social media and everything because he doesn't look or feel like Leon, but it's not his fault that he was cast in this role, and it's also not his fault that he was given a shit script.
Leon S. Kennedy. What's the S stand for, stupid? Oh.
First of all, they needed to fix his hair. Okay, he needs curtains, goddammit. And also, he needs to be a little cringe and a little dorky, but also just not incompetent like he is in this movie, because he is useless. He's a buffoon. I mean, I guess Claire is okay. Her depiction kind of matches what she's like in the game anyway. What's also really funny is that whenever a character shows up in this film, they have to announce their name so the audience can be like, ooh, I know who that is. For example, when Jill first shows up, they reference the whole Jill sandwich thing, which is really weird because that's how she's introduced, but we don't know these characters yet. So yeah, it's really bad and really weird. The pose that Leon does in RE2, that shows up. Ada also shows up in the end of this. So if you're a normal person watching this that has no really connection to the Resident Evil franchise, this just does nothing for you. That's the enjoyment you get, is just like knowing what the references are from. What's frustrating too is that Resident Evil is a franchise that could actually work in film. It just needs to be wacky and not take itself too seriously, but also not be meta like this movie is. There is a recent horror movie that came out called Malignant, and that sort of tone would work really well for a Resident Evil movie, so my pitch is just hire James Wan to write and direct the next Resident Evil movie. That would actually be pretty cool. But yeah, pretty shit. 1 out of 10.
There are terrible demons. Ouch!
You're wounded.